What's up everybody, Josh here, welcome to the Adventure Diaries. Well, for one of our last adventures of the summer, we've decided to jump the border into Idaho to visit the town of Lava Hot Springs. Lava Hot Springs is a sleepy little farming community of about 500 people. On any weekend during the summer, that number explodes as travelers from all around flock to the city to beat the summer heat. This little town is known for its water recreation, even though it's not located by any major body of water. For us, we're here to run the river, but that's not all there is to do. As you enter the town, there's a large water park known as the Olympic Complex. We'll see a little bit more of that later. And of course, what actually gives the town its name? The Lava Hot Springs. We never made it to the springs, but here's a little info on them. The springs are an all-natural and full of minerals, but lack any sulfur, so none of that nasty egg smell here. There are 5 pools ranging from 102 to 112 degrees, and a little something for everybody. Eventually, the springs do flow down to the river. In my time, I have been privileged enough to go on several whitewater rafting trips, some of which were pretty intense, especially if you are like me and don't like the water. This little river isn't one of those. I'm going to apologize in advance if I mispronounce this name. I've never really had the knack for speaking French. The Portneuf River is a tributary of the Snake River. It emerges from the mountains near the city of Pocatello and flows 124 miles until it finally merges with the larger Snake. Have you ever been to Disneyland and gone on the Grizzly Rapids ride? It's just like that, but in real life. Who would have thought? Am I right? Guess they had to get the idea from somewhere. In all seriousness though, I can't speak on the river as a whole, just the part of the river we floated. This lazy river is not very big, at its widest, and I could be greatly underestimating it, is about 150 feet across, give or take, but generally a lot less wider than that. The river flows at a relatively steady pace, but it does throw in several rapids to spice things up a bit, and depending on the level of the water, things can get really interesting really fast. If you fall out though, no worries, it's not very deep. The deepest spot that I found came up to just below the top of my shoulders. Not to say there isn't anything deeper though. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you about the waterfall. There's an optional path that'll take you up just past the main entrance to the river. This path grants you access to tempt fate and tube over the waterfall. I suggest trying it at least once. It's pretty fun and it gives you a little bit of a rush. But you do have to be careful though. Here's my tip for the waterfall. When approaching the drop-off, you want to stay as far left as you can. If you do this, you'll go over the waterfall and drift away without any problems. Unless you fall off, then you'll have to figure out how to get back on your tube. It's when you take the right side of the waterfall is when you have problems. The right side is steeper and the water flows faster. I've seen my share of people come off that side and get trapped underneath the flow of the water until it finally decides to spit them back out. Definitely not a situation you want to be in. This was the second time that I floated the river lava, but Aaron's family has been coming up here for years. Once I married into the family, I started hearing stories about their previous adventures, and some of them were a little discouraging. A lot of them told of falling off of the tubes and crashing in the rocks, resulting in some nasty cuts and bruises all over their bodies. One was bad enough that they had to get stitches. Let's be realistic here. Rocks are pretty unforgiving, and going toe-to-toe with one, some type of injury is expected. These stories had our newest family members, who had never been, a little worried. Like I said, a little discouraging. Luckily for us, the river was running high, and we merely floated over the rocks below us. That doesn't mean we came out unscathed. At least I didn't. I took several direct shots to my derriere. Nothing too serious. But I did have a bruise for about 2 weeks. Like most of the people here, we tended to cluster together as a family group. We would hold onto each other's tubes so that we wouldn't lose anyone. Not to say this didn't happen, as rough water sometimes made us lose our grips, but most of the time, it worked out just fine. At one point, we had 6 or 7 individual tubes, strung together in a giant snake, making our way down the river in an unpredictable fashion. It was all fun and games until the lead tube gets stuck, and causes the rest of us to come crashing into each other. Needless to say, we didn't stay stuck for very long. Holding on to one another was fun. It gave us the opportunity for some good old-fashioned family bonding. There was a lot of teasing and a lot of banter being thrown around. Of course, we were in the water, so you know that someone was going to get splashed. Traveling in a group is fun, but there is something about floating down a river by yourself that is peaceful and relaxing. I can't pinpoint what it is exactly myself. Maybe it's the sound of the water, or maybe it's a cool breeze blowing across my face. All I know is that I could use more of it in my daily life. While our lazy river ride is coming to an end, we had a lot of fun floating the river. Other than a few bumps and bruises, no major injuries, so I'd call that a success. But before we go, I'm going to turn the time over to our adventure moms who had a little adventure of their own.
These moms weren't going to miss out on taking these tiny adventurers to have their own water fun. We went to the Lava Hot Springs pool. It had a really fun kids area with slides and lots of flowing water to play in. Then we went out and ventured into the big pool, which was a really great spot to learn some swimming techniques like kicking and floating. The kids had such a good time, and it was this little man's first time at the pool. He did so good going underwater. My 1-year-old daredevil of a niece even went on a slide that was taller than me. It was such a great day to spend at the pool with the kids. Like what we're doing? Like and subscribe, and remember, sometimes you have to get lost to find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching!